like to talk about tips on sticking with playing a song that may be difficult. I was reading on an online forum about someone wondering, how am I supposed to stick with this song and having a lot of trouble with it. So the first thing I would do, especially when learning any song, especially a difficult one, is break it down into small pieces. One student of mine, he loves Children of Bodom, but it's very difficult for him to just start playing through a song. So what we've done, and what I recommend doing if you're having trouble, is start off by just learning a bar at a time. And if you're wondering, or if you're thinking like, well, that seems like it would be an awfully long time if you're just doing one bar at a time. So let me put it to you like this. Let's say you're trying to memorize part of a book. Let's say you got a whole page worth of material that you're trying to learn, trying to memorize. If you just keep reading from top to bottom over and over and over again, yeah, you might memorize it. But if you learn one sentence at a time, you're able to absorb it much faster. So you might be only learning a small piece at a time, but when you approach it this way, you're going to get the whole chunk learned faster. Because if you're reading, it's basically the same thing when you're playing music, the same thing when you're trying to learn a song. If you're starting from beginning to end and you just keep playing over and over and over and over again, eventually you might absorb everything, but it's going to take a very long time, and I would imagine it would be very frustrating when you are trying to learn this way. So that's why I recommend just do a bar at a time. So, you don't always have to do a bar at a time. That's just one way. Because if there's a part of the song that's fairly easy for you to learn, good. Just hit that and move on to the next thing. So let's say you have an 8-bar piece that's tough. So what I recommend is, practice the first bar. And as I always state, use your metronome. Practice with that metronome. Start that bar at a pace you were comfortable with. I always recommend 60 beats a minute for at least 90% of everything out there. So this way you are playing at a pace where you're able to really think about every single note that's being played, and you're able to think, you have the time to think about when that note's supposed to be played. So a lot of people say it's too slow, it's so hard at this speed, but the thing is, I believe that you will know that piece of music so much better if you force yourself to learn it really slow. So this way when you start to speed it up, you're going to have that thing so solid. So this way you'll have control over what you're doing. So anyway, so you work up the first bar. And I recommend, let's say whatever you're learning is 100 beats a minute. I'd say learn it up to 120 beats a minute. The reason why is because if you learn that piece of music faster than what the goal is, the goal will be that much easier. So if you can play it at 120, 130 or more, playing it at 100 beats a minute is going to seem like a piece of cake. Very easy. So get bar 1 up to pass speed. Then you work on bar 2, do the same thing. Then you work on bar 3, bar 4, and just do that for all 8 bars. Then work on bars 1 and 2 together. Then work on bars 2 and 3. Then work on 3 and 4. What a lot of people will do is they'll do bar 1 and 2, and then they'll skip to bars 3 and 4. Because they think, well, I just already practiced bar 2, I can just move on to the next. The thing is, when you're playing the full thing, you're going to be transitioning from bar 2 to 3. So that's why it's important to practice it like that. So you got bar 1 and 2, then 2 and 3, then 3 and 4, then 4 and 5, and so on. And if it's a repeat, like a repeated part, then you'll want to practice the last bar back into the first bar. So this way you're setting yourself up to be able to do that many. So after that, maybe, I mean, you can go slow and just do like the first 3 bars, like bars 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 4, 5. Or maybe you could do, you know, bars 1 through 4. And then, but then again, you know, it's important if you're going to do it that way, you want to start practicing bar 4 into 5. But you kind of already did that, so at this point you might be able to get away with practicing bars 1 through 4, then 5 through 8. Anyway, so hopefully you get the idea that I'm trying to convey here, which is learn it in small pieces, and then slowly increase the amount you're practicing until you have the full picture. And then, so if you're learning a big song and you have to do that multiple times, you know, that's fine. But just make sure that you go back and can still play what you already learned. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, some people might get bored with doing the same thing all the time. So, you know, I think it's okay if you have more than one part of the song that you're working on. So maybe work 2 or 3 things. So this way you can rotate what part you practice on. This will help keep you interested in learning the song, and it's also going to help clear your mind when you hit a plateau with one thing. So let's say you're working on the verse and you're stuck, you can't get any faster, so then you work on maybe the second verse or the chorus, and then once you get stuck on that, you can go back to the verse, or maybe work on the bridge, or, you know, however the song is set up. So this, you know, have 2 or 3 different things to work on at once, so then you kind of rotate through them, so this way you don't feel like things are getting stale. You have less chance of feeling burnt out learning the song. Another thing you could do is take a day off. Like if you've been working the hell out of this song for a week or more and it feels like you're not getting any progress, just take a day or 2 to do something else. Just take a break. Because a lot of times, if you just stay away from that piece of music, it gives your mind a chance to really absorb and put things together. I'm not really sure how it works, but just what I've noticed is, like, if I'm learning something new and I reach a point where I just can't progress any further with it, I'll just stop what I'm doing. Maybe come back a little bit later that day, or maybe do it the next day. Usually the next day I'm doing far better than I was the day before. Because like something happens to where it's like your mind is able to piece things together better. Like, I don't know the science behind it. I really don't know how to truly explain it, but just try that. You know, if you're really stuck, if you're learning something new, you know, take it to where you can that day, and then try it again the next day, or maybe a couple days after. You know, just experiment and see how that works. I wouldn't wait too long though, because if you like wait a week or more, you may forget what you were doing and have to kind of start over again. So let's say 1-2 days max if you're working on something pretty difficult. We should be sufficient rest time for that. And you can play other stuff in between. That's fine. I'm not saying don't play anything. Just take a break from what you're learning. So that can be very helpful sometimes. So if you have any other questions about learning a song or anything music related, you know, please email me, let me know, and I'll put together an answer for you. If you have any tips that you'd like to share on tips on working on music, you know, I'd love to hear them. And maybe you could do a guest video for Mile High Shred. I have another friend of mine, he's done some guest videos, and one of my students has done a guest video, so you know, I'm very happy to include other musicians sharing ideas to help other people in improving their music. So send me your ideas, love to hear them, and thank you for watching.